Yes, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Inter Xtra podcast. As you can see, after a long while today, we have a special guest once again. Sean is to the top right of me, and to the top left, we have our good friend LUCA BENDONI from Sky Sport, the Marzio team. LUCA, how are you doing today?
Very good. Pleased to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you for being here. Sean, how are you feeling?
I'm good. How about you, Simi?
Yeah, I can't wait to get into some of the things that we're going to talk about. We have an expert on board, so it's going to be good to understand what happened, what went wrong, especially this window, because not much went right. So we'll have a deep dive into that. Before that, guys, as per usual, make sure you follow us on all the socials. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube if you're not already subscribed. Like the video, comment your opinions, and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram as well. And if you're listening on the different platforms, make sure you go give us a good rating. But I say we get straight into it because there's a lot to discuss. We'll have Luca on for the first part of this podcast. Sean, I say we get straight into some of the topics that we want to talk about today.
Yeah, absolutely. Luca, I think one thing that we definitely complained about in our last episode, and one thing that I've seen a lot of Interisti complain about, is the strategy of the board and of management, Piero Ausilio and then Beppe Marotta, and some of the quotes that they've said, strictly talking about opportunities, especially in the January market. Do you know anything about the club's actual real transfer strategy, and then kind of what happened if they had one, and is there one for the future?
Well, in January, the actual strategy was about opportunities. Everything in January is about opportunities, especially if you don't have a specifically planned budget, let's say, for January. Okay. So Inter had the availability of doing deals only at the right conditions, according to their management, according to their ownership, with a specific budget that was like given to any deal, okay, specifically. So the Diaby deal had one budget, the Jones deal had another budget, and they were all basically paid loans with options in some cases that could become obligations at conditions. So it was all about understanding if the players pushing to get a move to Inter could help them in bringing them. In the end, it was not like this because we saw that Perisic was also confirmed in negotiations by Marotta himself. Diaby the same. He said it's an opportunity. We will see. They never had the conviction, the understanding of having the players done. Okay, because the great problem has always been the selling club, because there was no such thing as a selling club because they didn't want to sell actually. So it was Al Ittihad that didn't want to sell Diaby. It was PSV that didn't want to sell Perisic. But Inter are happy with their team. I mean, it was like looking at something that could potentially help them, especially on the right wing back position. Like Diaby could have been a player in that position, and also a different opportunity, maybe in a system more offensive with more strikers. It was like a Lookman type deal, also potentially, the deal they wanted to make with Lookman in the summer, so one can dribble, can go with different solutions. They always wanted this profile, and I think also they might have one, which is Luis Enrique, because he can dribble, but he's not like playing in his best position, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. They understand more football than me. All the things that I want to say is that, yeah, really, Inter was just looking for opportunity because the team is well built according to them. I'm not here to make judgments. I'm gonna just tell you the strategy. So I don't think they made major mistakes or something didn't go right. It was just about the players pushing. No club was open to selling because Liverpool was not open also to sell Jones. But it's not like that Inter are gonna be desperate with Frattesi, because it was Frattesi that wanted to try to have more space in the prospect of Italy maybe getting the World Cup qualification after so long time, and so he wants to be part of it, and so he wants to play as much as possible. And so if you wanted to find a solution, maybe Nottingham Forest, maybe Lazio, there were many teams on Frattesi, also Galatasaray earlier in the window, Inter would have needed to find a substitute before sanctioning a loan, and so or a move, even permanent. And so they wanted to find Jones, and it was very clear. It's just Jones or no one. The line from the club, it was very simple because they were convinced about Jones. They were not here just to sign a random midfielder, one to buy. It was about finding the right one. If there is chances, okay. If not, we are happy with this. So I think they're happy with this. They found one opportunity, actually. It was Massolen from Modena, good prospect in Serie B, even if he's not very, very young because he's 23. But he's in Italy we call them tardivo. Okay, he's a tardivo, so a player that develops later on. He's a good player. He has a top physicality, of course. He maybe needs to improve a little bit of speed and control and composure and everything. But of course, he's a Serie B player. The plan is to keep them. Of course, he stay in Modena for this time, this final 6 months, and then let's see. He was an opportunity. It was an investment, 3.5 plus bonus, and then they will see his development. Of course, the gap between Modena and Inter is very wide, but in Modena they all call him alien, like he is not in the same level. No, maybe he's not yet in the level of Inter. Maybe he needs a Genoa first, a Fiorentina first. Who knows? But they'll see summer. So that was the Inter transfer strategy and all the backstories.
Yeah, that's I appreciate the insight. I wanted to ask you specifically about Ivan Perisic because there was people saying that, or certain outlets saying that the decisive factor is PSV advancing in the Champions League or not. But then afterwards, their president came out and said that Inter never contacted PSV. So how was that ever going to be like the chance? Was that even true then? Like the fact that PSG, whether or not they advance in the Champions League or not, did that ever make a difference anyway?
I don't think so. They want to secure the league. They want to win the league as soon as possible.
Yeah.
They had a crucial match also the penultimate day of the transfer window, 1st February. They played against Feyenoord. I didn't check the results, by the way, but I know that they had to play that match.
They won heavy. They won like
3-4-0.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And the thing is that they wanted Perisic to be part of the team, of course. Also, another important factor is that it was not directly related, but numerically, if you consider, PSV were on the verge of signing Alfagio Cissé from Verona that went to Milan, okay, who is now on loan at Catanzaro. And he doesn't play in the same exact position of Perisic, but almost, So numerically, he would have been a potential replacement. Given the fact that Milan hijacked the deal, and so Cissé stayed in Catanzaro on loan from Milan, and PSV didn't sign him. This also didn't help Inter, but PSV originally wanted to keep Perisic, and Inter hoped, as I said before, that Perisic pushing for a move could help, but in the end it was not the case. So that's the Perisic deal.
Great.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I wanted to ask about Diaby specifically because I think you can agree with us. Diaby was the one that looked the closest out of everything we heard in the window. Yeah. Diaby was the closest, especially because he wanted. I think someone said he wanted Champions League football specifically, which is why he was eager to join, and his whole camp was eager to join, right? But in Saudi Arabia, especially with the big clubs, it's the PIF that decides, right? So they decide with the club whether or not to let a player go. Is that correct? And like, is it just that was the problem?
Yeah, that was the major issue. Timing was also an issue because it's a deal that started 4 or 5 days before the end of the window. So timing was difficult. And there were 2 matches in between because Al Ittihad played 2 matches since the negotiation started. Okay. And Diaby was a starter in both of them. Thing is, Diaby wants Champions League football for his career because it's his dream. He never played regularly in the Champions League. Okay. Yeah. Guys, you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Because he wants. I saw him talk, but well, he wants Champions League football regularly because he never had it in his career. So that's his dream. That's his aspiration. Okay, that's what he aspired to. But of course, it was not enough because he has a very important salary. He would have reduced the salary with no problem, but then Al Ittihad needs to find a replacement. And they need to justify the investment they made because PIF paid basically 60 million for him very recently in the end because it was not 5 years ago. Okay, so Inter, the best offers they could make was a loan with option, not mandatory at any condition, at 35 million, or a loan with an option that could become mandatory at some conditions, which were the matches played by Diaby, for example, and also team goals at 30. Okay, this was too low for PIF. Inter made 2 attempts for Diaby during those 5 days, 6 days that they were negotiating. And the camp of Diaby went to Saudi twice in 5 days. They went, they returned, and went again. And that underlines how much they were pushing for the move, no? Because they went there for meetings, etc., etc. In the end, the move couldn't be, done, couldn't be agreed. Diaby pushed for Inter, but in the end, he has to respect the contract, and he has a great contract with Al Ittihad.
Of course, yeah.
And I have a follow-up.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, sorry, I just had a follow-up to that. So you mentioned that they came in 5 days before the end of the Mercato closing. Was that Diaby's team that saw that opportunity, or was that the Beppe and Ausilio team that saw that opportunity as well, seeing that he is the profile they've been looking for, I would say 6 to 18 months? Do you know anything about that, of where the contacts began?
I don't know how the idea originated, to be honest, but I know that both parties were keen on doing this, and they were in negotiations. Problem is, negotiation is in football is conducted by 3 or sometimes 4 parties. Okay, so 2 of them could agree. In this case, the third not.
Yeah, and then I have a final question on Curtis Jones, because obviously Curtis Jones was like this unexpected name. So where did that come from? Was that like a final minute, like last second idea, or was it like something that they had in mind for a few days before that?
No, it was a final idea. Of course, he's in the radar he has been for a long time, because he's a top player, but you don't need to scout Curtis Jones. I mean,
of course not.
we
Yeah.
as normal beings, we can see that Curtis Jones is a fantastic player. So if we can do it, Inter board is way better than me and than us, and so they can see the opportunity, and they saw the opportunity because of the Frattesi thing that I said before. So he wanted to have more space. He's happy in Inter, of course, but he wanted just to play regularly for the Italian national team. I think the World Cup is a dream for every kid that plays football, and so Curtis Jones has a contract that is expiring in 18 months with Liverpool, and Inter is, of course, another great club competing at top European level, reached to Champions League final in 3 years. So I think it's also a great opportunity for him to be a main character, like he's in Liverpool, of course, but he's not the main character, because if you think about Liverpool, you don't think about Curtis Jones. He was keen on the move to Inter. Not that he was pushing to leave Liverpool, but given all the circumstances, the contract that is expiring in 18 months, etc., that was the thing. Problems were timing, the contract extension that Liverpool wanted, because Inter, of course, wanted a loan. But if you do a loan with option, given that the option could be 35, 40, or whatever, then if he has 18 months on the contract and Inter does a 6 months loan deal, then it's just 12 months left on the contract. And with 12 months left on the contract, it's a difficult position, because if Inter wants to renegotiate a fee, let's say, that's I think what Liverpool thought. If Inter in 6 months want to renegotiate a fee, we have no negotiable power. Liverpool, we have no negotiable power to go there and negotiate, because of course Inter have an option for 40 million, but there is 1 year left on his contract. Either we lose him for 0 in 6 months, or we accept a reduction of the option. So Liverpool wanted to extend 1, 2, 3 years, I don't know, before letting him out. But timing was an issue, because of course it was 2 days left. Complicated to send Frattesi, buy Jones, etc. So Inter said, okay, we are happy like this, we stay like this.
Yeah, it's just too much going on, just like with the other deals. It makes sense, yeah. But yeah, we appreciate the insight, Luca. Thank you so much for jumping on real quick.
It's a pleasure, guys. It's a pleasure.
We'll be happy to have you back eventually.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see, but maybe for the summer. You never know what's gonna come in the summer. Hopefully, some better news. But appreciate you, and we'll see you soon. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing before you go, let
Oh.
everybody know where they can find you.
Oh, yeah,
And
please.
maybe plug the Di Marzio team and Sky Sports and
Yeah.
everybody else that needs to be pointed to for you.
Thank you for the chance, and thank you for the invitation, of course. You can find me everywhere just by my name, Luca Bendoni, on Instagram, on X, especially on X. I'm very X focused. And I collaborate with Di Marzio, who is the greatest journalist, transfer journalist in Italy and probably in the world, for me, at least. And
Me too.
because he made history, he created this job. Okay, he was the first in doing it in the world. And so you can find Di Marzio, of course, with his name, but he's world famous. And yeah, follow us. Make sure to follow us either on Di Marzio, on Sky Sport, or on my pages. Thank you very much.
Grazie, Luca.
Thank you,
Ci
guys.
vediamo.
Ciao, Luca. Thank you.
Grazie.
All right, guys, I need to switch to the right format. Otherwise, this is going to look a bit stupid. Yeah, you heard it yourself, guys. Some nice and insightful words from Luca himself. Make sure you follow him. Like he said, his socials are... I didn't know he had Instagram. I'm going to go follow him live right now. Luca Bendoni, you guys know, sometimes first to certain deals. So he knows what he's doing. Does a great job. Yeah. Make sure you show him some love. Show the whole Di Marzio team some love. Sky Sport Italia. And yeah, guys, that was a lot already, right? We basically covered things that we didn't even cover last Saturday that happened since last Saturday. Because obviously we are on the 4th of February now. The last recording was January 31st. And it was technically still open. The window was technically still open till Monday, right, Sean? So it was always going to be something to follow up. But guys, the first thing I want to show is the only thing that happened is this. The only thing that happened is the deal for Yanis Masolin, which isn't even a deal because he's leaving on loan again for the next six months. He was literally just there to do his medicals and then ran back to Modena. Like, it was...
Yeah, I guess can't complain too much. I mean, we did the same thing with Sucic last January, right? So,
right.
And it was funny that Luca called him an alien because he is, what, 196 centimeters?
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the compilations on Twitter, but for how tall he is, he's not supposed to move the way he's moving.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we said the same for Andy Juve, right? And he's not been bad, but he's not been the greatest either, you know? So let's take it a little bit slow on Masolin. Obviously, we'll see how he plays in the next 6 months, basically, because he's basically a loanee now, right? So it'll have to be seen how we'll have to see how he performs and if he can keep growing in those next 6 months. Obviously, it is a tier lower, but he is the only official signing of the window if you exclude the 2 under 23 signings, which, if you want to know who that is, last week's episode is right there. But in terms of first team signings, he's the only player. So yeah, that's completed. I think that was already completed by the time we recorded last time, right? So unless you wanna...
it wasn't official. It was basically official. It just, the pictures weren't taken yet.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, because that happened all Sunday, I believe. So when everybody was listening to it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was basically already done. So there's nothing new in that regard. But guys, listen, we don't need to cover it too much because we already discussed it with Luca, but this was very funny. I even replied to this with my personal account. When Inter made that second push for Moussa Diaby, right, to try and like get a final yes or whatever, throughout the whole day, because they pushed in the morning on February 2nd, and throughout the whole day, they didn't receive a response. So no rejection, just like they literally just got Ed, right? And the silence didn't exactly bode well, right? So it was a bit awkward, I can't lie. And then in the evening is when they rejected it, or like early evening. So the whole day they didn't hear anything, and then towards the evening they heard back, which this was at 5 p.m., which is like 7 p.m. Saudi time. So like just very, very embarrassing if you look at it from the outside looking in. But
yeah, absolutely. The only thing with Diaby, the positive that I found in the Diaby news was the fact that the profile made sense, right? For two reasons. One, it was the Lookman profile that they've been looking for. Like that 26-year-old. I know Lookman was 27 at the time. And then an attacking kind of can play behind the striker, play with the striker as a winger, like a versatile profile in attack. But
Yeah.
Diaby, if anybody remembers him, before he went to Aston Villa, I believe he was at Leverkusen, and he
Correct.
played as the fifth, as a wing back at times. But I think it was on the left side because he is left-footed. So he's played the role a little bit and then was moved into right wing before moving to Aston Villa. So
Yeah.
altogether it made sense, but of course it didn't happen, and in my opinion it was just a failure. And yeah, I know that they're hamstrung by certain things, but you've given a budget, like Lucas said, and you've got to make it happen if you want it to happen, right? You can't just expect other clubs to allow you to have their player on your terms. You have to go make it and make your club have the ability to make the move and have negotiations. Inter seems like they came in with it with only one way that it was going to happen,
It's poor. Yeah.
which
It's
clubs are just going to accept your way or the highway. Yeah.
yeah. Exactly. I think it's like Lucas said. It sums it up. Like it was very very much rushed. Seemed very again. The strategy was there, but to execute it with force and to execute it with like, okay, we're actually gonna do something no matter what. Like we're gonna persist. It doesn't look like that. That's for sure because it's half-hearted, like we said on Saturday. So yeah, and you mentioned Lookman. Funnily enough, this is the next thing I want to talk about because former Inter target Ademola Lookman has joined Atletico Madrid, right? For right for 40 million euros, right? Now we know that there was a price tag of that for foreign clubs and not for Italian clubs. We know this, right? But it's still hilarious to see. I'm a big fan personally of Ademola. I feel like he's a great player. I hope he does well.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's like wish him nothing but the best. One of my friends from the streaming space, Sam, he grew up with him, so there's that,
Oh, very
and
cool.
hopefully they
In
can
London, right?
in London. Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
grew up in
So
London. Yeah,
shout
very
out
cool.
Sam
Very
Ham.
cool.
Sam Ham. I know he's probably not listening because he's a busy man, but good friend of mine from Twitch. Yeah, he's gonna have an interesting time at Atletico. I feel like because Simeone and his ways. Who knows if it's gonna work out for him, but still wish him all the best. But it's just interesting to see that he did make a move after all. He was never gonna stay at Atalanta for longer than another season, but still. He has signed for Atletico Madrid, and then before we move on to this, I want to talk about Branimir Mladic, who has officially now joined Udinese. Now we talked about this on Saturday, and this became official on Monday. But again, it's disappointing. It's disappointing because you had an agreement for the longest for 3 weeks with Hajduk Split, and then you can't make the move happen because you can't agree with the player and his camp and his dad, which seems to be a common problem. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
he agrees to join Udinese, which again is a smaller club. So like with all due respect to Udinese, right? But you're finding it harder to close a deal than Udinese is. It's kind of like you gotta start asking
That
questions.
when it comes to the player side, that sounds like he wanted a clear-cut plan for his future.
He wanted
And,
playing time also.
and yes. And so if we want to go back in for him after he shows something at Udinese and then he would be able to play more minutes at Inter, he would be ready for Inter in their eyes, in Inter's eyes, then yeah, we're gonna have to pay a premium for him. But Udinese can
Yeah.
say, you know, we might be moving on from these center backs. I mean, how long is Umar Solé going to be staying at Udinese? And Christensen, that's there right now as well.
Hmm.
There are big clubs looking at him too. So they could probably say, yeah, in the summer you come in, preseason. Did he go back out on loan, or is he at Udinese permanently
I'm
right
not
now?
sure. I feel like he's joined straight away. I would be surprised if
Okay.
he went back on loan. I will check for you, but yeah.
Anyway, either direction, it's really he sees next year, he sees where he's going to be able to fit into the team. And I guess like it's both annoying but also smart on his part because so many young players want to just jump to the top immediately. So
No, he's there permanently. He just joined.
he's
Final
there
day of the
permanently.
window. He's not going back on
Okay.
loan. And this is the thing, like he's playing there now, whilst Inter's plan was to loan him back to Hajduk and then let him play in the Swiss league for a year. It's not a good look.
Yeah.
And I understand why he chose Udinese instead of Inter. I 100% do. On the personal side, I 100% get it. And I feel like it's also the better choice for his career. Someone compared it to Giovanni Leone, right? When we missed out on him from Sampdoria and then he went to Parma.
Yeah.
And then he got his big money move to Liverpool. So, like, this might be another scenario like that. And we'll be disappointed afterwards again. But we'll see how he develops. Seems like a great talent, like I said last episode. But yeah, so much on Branimir Vlacic. And then, like we mentioned with Luca, Curtis Jones to Inter was off on Sunday evening. If Nottingham Forest had wanted Davide Fratesi on a permanent deal, Oaktree would have given the green light to present Liverpool with a more structured offer for Jones. The thing is, in these final days, to do all of that, to sell a player and then to loan a player whose contract needs to be extended, because like Luca said, you don't want to have a player on a 1-year contract when he comes back from loan. That's that's a deadly move. You don't want to do that. You usually, like, I've barely / never seen it before for a club to loan out a player who then, when he comes back from loan, only has a year left on his contract. That is a no-go. So I understand it, why it didn't happen. It's just, you want to say something?
I just like this is where I want to rant again for a little bit. And I
Sure.
appreciate Luca being cordial and polite when it comes to the Inter management strategy. And he didn't want to, like, he just stuck to the information that he was given and didn't want to give his thoughts. But like here, this is when why are you waiting until the last day, like the last days of the Mercato to do this deal, right? So if you know that Fratesi wants more game time, why are you waiting until 5 days before the end of the Mercato or 3 days to talk to Nottingham Forest about a deal, right? Because they didn't need to get rid of anybody to loan Fratesi in. And so you get that done, even 15 days left. You can then say, okay, give us 10 days. We want to go over to Liverpool and go get Curtis Jones first before we let this happen. Okay, now you've given Liverpool 10 to 12 days to extend a contract, negotiate with him, negotiate with you, and it can happen. But no, of course not. We have Italian procrastination and this opportunità of Beppe and Ausilio, and it just
Yes.
it's so frustrating, and it's every deal. And this is why I asked Luca, is there a plan? Because all of the opportunities in January, but we hear it in the summer as well, I think. And you never give yourself enough time to actually get to the opportunity, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
I think he summed it up first sentence perfectly. The plan is to wait for opportunities. But then, is that even a plan? It's a strategy, but it's not a good one, you know? Like,
Yeah.
but that answered your question straight away, because your question was if there's a strategy. I think there is one. It's just not a good one. It's not a good one to have for a club like Inter. And it's not a good one to have if you want to get deals done within a 30-day window with other big clubs that also want concrete answers, obviously, right? So you can't do the whole, let's wait and see if we sell Fratesi and then maybe we'll come to you. You can't do that with Liverpool. Like, Liverpool are gonna laugh at you, and I think that's what they probably did, right? And so, because let me continue reading the tweet here. Fratesi joining Nottingham Forest on loan with an option to buy would have posed the risk of the midfielder returning in June. Oaktree didn't want to consider this possibility, which is ultimately the reason why Fratesi was then taken off the market. So I feel like it's interesting. Yeah, I know. Like, it's
Wait,
that
because
that's
he might actually be
generally
sold?
speaking, that's how a loan works, right? Someone needs to explain to Oak Tree what a loan is, right? Because I feel like they didn't quite understand the like what was gonna happen with the player. It's and then obviously then it doesn't work out with Liverpool. But again, like this is just typical, right? It's just typical. Um, and then
All right, cool. I think that leads us perfectly into the end of this section.
no,
I don't know if there's
it's
another name.
there's a few more names. Yeah, there's two more names I wanna
Okay.
wait. Let me see. Yeah, there's two more. No, three more names I want to talk about actually. So Ivan Perisic, we have a quote like I said to Luca. PSV president Marcel Brands on Ivan Perisic. He wants to go to Inter. Everyone is talking about it, but they have never contacted us. We talked to the player. He said someone contacted him personally. That's all there is. He will stay. Now, this is what we said on Saturday, where everyone contacts, like Inter always contacts the player, but not the club. And then what's going to happen? The club is going to feel fooled, right? The club is going to be like, oh, you can't come to us about the player. You have to do all of this behind our back thing, And it's unprofessional. Like we said, kind of like I said literally just a minute ago. It's not how you act as Inter. If you want a player, go to the club. Don't just go to the player and say, hey, can you please push with your club to leave? But the club is going to say, hello, that's not how you move if you want our player. That's not the right way to go about it. And it's understandable why. And I didn't watch the actual interview, but by the way by the way he's speaking, and I think I translated this correctly from Daniele Mari, shout out to him. He sounds annoyed by the way that Inter did it. And so if you're going to annoy these presidents, these sporting directors, by moving like this, then it's understandable why no one wants to negotiate with you. So yeah, obviously the Cisse stuff might have played a part. That's some interesting insight. I did not know that was like linked kind of to it, right? But it makes sense. And
Yeah,
so
I knew the move was happening. I did not realize that was
yeah,
potentially linked to Perisic. So
that was interesting. And also something that I kind of didn't really see, because this was Thomas tweeting, is that Inter made a new call to PSV this morning, which was Monday morning, for Ivan Perisic, but the club remains firm on its decision not to let the winger leave, which means there was another push also for Perisic. So interesting to see that. But yeah, it was never happening, right? It was never happening, and clearly there was like no opening from the club. And then in terms of Luis Enrique, obviously we talked about it. Interesting from Luca to hear that the plan was always to keep him, because the offer, there was a time, especially in, I think it was January 27th, January 28th, so basically a week ago, where the offer seemed like ready, right? But it was interesting that it was reported this way if what Luca said, it's true, to the point where
yeah,
Inter was never thinking about selling him at all. So why even consider Bournemouth's offer,
yeah, it kind of makes sense, but is also confusing at the same time. Of you sell him, you don't have anybody on the right, so of course you're not going to sell him, right? That makes sense. You want to keep him, and if Bournemouth's already coming in with an offer of an increased valuation, then you could do that in the summer as well if he continues to if he increases his performance through the end of the season. So like he came on today against Torino, and his pace actually helped defensively, not even offensively. It was defensively, because that side was getting cooked. Acerbi was getting cooked on that side whenever he'd have to cover, and then De Vrij was also over there. It just, yeah. Anyway, all of it together, it was, it makes sense why it didn't happen. And then, but like if you see that opportunity of getting a value, an increased value, I guess you have to consider it. I don't know. It just, like always, we're left confused with this club. So I can see it
it
both ways.
was, yeah, like I think what Luca said was definitely spot on. I feel like the plan was never to let him leave. It's just interesting how it's still being like considered just in case something happens. Like who knows if Perisic or Diaby would have arrived, maybe they would have sold him. You never know. You never know. But that's
Well, I wonder who the journalist that
yeah,
reported
I
Bournemouth
would love
move.
to know. I would, if I could go back. I mean, I had it on last episode, so we can go back and check. But yeah, and then finally, Davide Fratesi. Obviously, we talked about Lazio last episode, so again, the confirmation of what the offer was. Inter's rejected a new offer. Oh, sorry, that was the second offer. Sorry, from Lazio for Davide Fratesi in the form of a loan with a 30 million option to buy that would turn into an obligation under certain conditions. Honestly, I might have taken that. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I understand replacing him and whatnot, and I already talked about it last episode of like, oh, we have enough players in under 23, blah blah blah. I don't need to go into that again, right? Ranted enough about that. But this is interesting to see that it was a 30 million option. Obviously, it depends how easy those obligations would have been, right? You always need to take that into account. But still, interesting that offer was there. And then his agent spoke out, saying, basically confirming it to Sky Sports, saying Lazio made an attempt, but Inter didn't want to let him leave. Inter really thought twice before deciding whether or not to let him leave. This is a great club, and Davide would think twice before leaving too. And I think he knows that, but I also highlighted this last episode, and also Luca highlighted it, that Italy World Cup chances are, I feel like, most important for him. And so I understand the openness to leave, but I also don't think he just wanted to leave like at all costs. I don't think that was like, because he can play less at Inter and still have a higher chance of joining the national team because he's a staple in the national team. I don't think he's joining the World Cup squad if he plays 0 minutes, but I think he's joining if he gets regular cameo appearances. So I feel like
Yeah,
he
he's
had
gotten
to
good
he had
minutes the
to
last 2 games.
exactly, and Kivu clearly does see something in him, right? So it's not like he has to start every game, but I feel like some minutes will be sufficient for the national team and to be considered, I guess, for the World Cup squad. Whether or not he'll play regularly in the World Cup, I think that's up to how he does in the international break in March. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the minutes that he gets at Inter will be enough. So yeah, interesting one right there. And then, guys, finally, this is where you guys come in as well. I know we've had people comment under it as well in terms of the transfer window. But here are the 3 signings again: Leon Jakirovic, Igor Amerigi, and Yanis Masolin. Loaned back to Modena. And then rate from 1 to 10, guys. Rate the transfer window from 1 to 10. How do we feel about this? How do we feel about the signings? How do we feel about maybe more so not the signings that were not made? Because yeah, the transfer window is officially over since Monday. It is now Wednesday, guys. Let us know in the comments down below what you think of, obviously, the transfer window, rated from 1 to 10, and also anything about the players that we just discussed and that we discussed with Luca also. But yeah, that is everything in terms of transfers, guys. We have a different schedule today because we had Luca on at the start, but I think we'll get into some of the games. I'll let you take over.
Yeah. So of course we recorded on Saturday, so a lot of the games were already done by that point, but we mentioned then that the women's team plays Ternana for the 3rd time in 10 days. And this one was the closest win. So this one was the toughest. It was a 1-0 victory. Let me go check who scored that goal. But yeah, three times now, 10 days, one against that. It's good. It's good. It's kind of funny that it happened, but 2-legged Coppa Italia tie, and then in the league as well. It was a Detroiter. Let me see if I can find her full name. I'm struggling here. There we go. Marie Detroyer. I hope I'm pronouncing. Yeah, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Belgian midfielder. So yeah, great win again. Puts them 2nd in the table, 1 point ahead of Juventus and 5 behind Roma. So it's great that they continue to do well and do that. And then moving on, the Primavera played twice, just like the senior team played twice since the last time we played. Goodness me, I keep knocking my mic in my stand. We had the Primavera squad in the league this past weekend had a close 2-1 win against Cremonese, 2 first half goals, and then held off Cremonese in the second
I think we
half. I don't know
mentioned
if
that
you were able to watch
in
that game.
we mentioned that in last week's episode, I think.
We did? Okay.
Yeah, we did.
Then we
Because it
can
was on Friday.
we can Oh, all right. Yeah, we would have then.
We mentioned that, yeah.
Then let's move on to the incredible game that happened this morning. The Inter Primavera, I guess it's U19 instead of U20. The U19 team played in the UEFA Youth League against Cologne today. They won 1 after 90 minutes, but in the 95th and 97th minute, 2 goals from, let me see, it was, yes,
I can tell you.
Hidalgo and or Zarate and Kukulis. Sorry,
Yes.
97th and 99th minutes.
Yes.
For a 3-1 victory against Cologne in the round of 32, a single leg tie. You watched this game. You were talking
Did
about
you not? I thought you watched it as well.
I was at work, so I wasn't able to watch this
Ah.
part.
Oh yeah, that's why you said this morning. What are you talking about morning, bro? Like you're on the wrong time zone. The wrong not a different time zone, just the wrong time zone.
Just the wrong time.
Guys,
Yeah.
guys, I will extensively go for one. I'm gonna try and keep it short, but I have a lot to say about this game because wow, this first of all, shout out to Köln's under 19 and shout out just their club in general, their fans. They sold out their first team stadium with a youth league record attendance. Okay, let that sink in, yeah. Youth league record attendance of over 50,000 people in that stadium. If you guys remember last season where Trabzonspor sold out their stadium with like 40,000 people, also against Inter's Primavera team in the semi-final of the youth league, that was crazy. Or the quarterfinal, sorry. That was already crazy to have that atmosphere. That stadium today, it felt like a Bundesliga game. I'm not even gonna lie. They had like the whole stadium announcer, the music playing when they scored the equalizer. It was like
I watched
wow.
a stream of the fans. Like there was I looked it up quickly before we started recording, but there was a video on YouTube because I wanted to watch the goals at the end. I wanted to watch the highlights and couldn't find them quick enough. But there was a video of a fan experience, and their ultras, their fans in one of the ends, pyros, flags,
everything,
banners,
right? Like literally crazier than a Bundesliga game. And I love to see this, right? Because obviously Köln is not like the typical club. They came through the domestic champions path, right? I don't know if you know how the youth league works, but it's basically like you have the normal path, which is basically the teams that are in the Champions League, and so their under 19s play out the same format in the same like way, right? And then you have the domestic champions path, which is like people that or clubs that win the under 18, under 19 championship, kind of. Usually under 18, because then I guess it's the season before, so then they go a year higher, right? So then it's under 19. So those teams that qualify, so the first place team in the under 18 championship in each country also gets to play in a separate playoff path, and then they meet the other UCL teams in the round of 32 kind of thing. Right, so Köln came through in that, and that's how they met Inter in the round of 32. So they didn't even qualify because Köln qualified for the Champions League or whatever. They literally earned it themselves in their under 18 championship, which is great to see. First of all, so the support for this game is crazy because this is a once in a lifetime experience for these under 19 players, right? And for both Köln and Inter players, this is the largest crowd that they've ever played under. And they're probably, like that pressure must be different because you're used to playing in front of 200 people, if even. And suddenly you're in a sold out stadium with that kind of crowd. So the first thing I want to say is shout out to those Inter Primavera players for keeping their cool away with a hostile atmosphere like that, right? First goal was scored by, damn, I'm slow now. Leonardo Bovio, a header. I got you, don't worry. You don't need to, I got you. Leonardo Bovio, who was at the Under-17 World Cup earlier this season, so clearly one of the biggest talents in the Inter Primavera team. Centre-back, great header, right? So that was the first goal, and then Köln equalised in the 80th minute. I forgot the name of their striker. And then it was looking like it was heading towards penalties, right? Just like it was against who was it? Bayern Munich last season. And then in 90+7, Dylan Sarate with the dagger, literally. Great goal, sends the team through to the round of 16. And then Köln tried to go all out. They sent their keeper forward, and then Kukulic scored an empty net, basically ice hockey style, and sealed the win 3-1. But again, the composure to play under that atmosphere, Inter controlled the game as well. Under that atmosphere, controlled the game for most of the 90 minutes. It was great to see. And I want to mention some names because I also was asked like who's like the standout players. Matthias Mancuso, left center mid, usually an attacker, like left winger, right winger, whatever. Played left center mid today. Very good player. Also, shout out to the captain Filippo Cepelletti, who plays for the Italian under-19 national team as well. Jamal Idrisu, I already said this, reminds me of like a leaner version of Pio Esposito. His hold-up play is incredible. Pace as well. Got a great shot on him. Mattia Mosconi on the right wing. Ayman Zuin on the left wing. El Maboubi when he came on the left wing and then on the right wing. So Lamin Ballo, right back, great player as well. There's a few players that are very, 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 very impressive and that stood out to me. So if you want to watch the highlights, they're probably on the Inter website now, or they'll upload them on YouTube as well for you to watch, Sean, or for anyone else that wants to watch it back.
And UEFA might have the full game.
Yeah, like UEFA have the full game if you guys want to watch the full game. So definitely worth checking out. I know this was like 10 minutes of me just talking about this game, but I was very impressed. And if you guys have the time to watch, it's literally just one-legged ties. So if you guys have the time to watch the youth league team, it's worth it because, you know, this can start a career. This can build the players. And especially that 4-team final that they have in Nyon in Switzerland, whenever they play the semi-final or the final, it's a great experience for these players. So hopefully this year they can go past the quarterfinal and then obviously round of 16 first and then past the quarterfinal and then get to that final 4 tournament. That would be great. So shout out to the kids. Well done to them. And the draw is on Friday, so we'll see who they play. And we'll report that next episode. But guys, on to the main squad. First of all, I want to apologize on behalf of me and Thomas that we weren't able to cover the match. There was both of us just had stuff going on, so we couldn't. Regardless, it was a good win. I managed to watch the highlights, and I managed to watch like 10 minutes of it, like the final 10 minutes or something. But Lautaro header and Zielinski long shot. Sean, you watched the game, right?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was as straightforward and simple as it sounds. Like the 2-0 win, it was so comfortable. I mean, almost boring. If you guys go watch Uncle Sharma, his post-match stream, shout out to Uncle Sharma, but yeah, he kind of said similar things, and it just, yeah, if you missed it, it might not be a game that you need to go back and watch the full thing. Inter in cruise control, Lautaro scoring again against the bottom half teams, which sometimes is needed, right? They play a low block, they're difficult to score against. You scoring the first goal opens up the game, makes things so much more comfortable, and it was really important to get that in the first half. So it was really good to get that. And then Zielinski, we're seeing the best of Zielinski right now, and so it was good to see him score that goal. It was kind of a goalkeeping error.
But the ball was moving though. The ball was moving.
Yeah, it was.
That ball was swerving, so you can't really put 100% of the blame on Aldero. It looks a bit stupid, of course.
It was.
But it was a strike.
It was a combo of both. Yeah, it was a really good strike that fooled him really. And so, yeah. And I think the only other thing that I'll mention with that game before we move on, because we're going to move on to the Torino game, which seeing the best of Zielinski, glad he got some rest before the weekend. But yeah, Emil Odero getting hit by a firework, not directly, but it went off on the pitch and pointed to a mark on his leg. I'm glad that he was able to continue playing and that he's okay. We haven't heard any reports of him with severe burns or anything. So glad that he's okay. We have received a decision that Inter will receive a 3-match away day ban. So any away trips from away from the San Siro, the next 3 trips away from the San Siro, Inter won't be allowed any fans in the away section. So
Yeah, I think the derby is excluded, right?
yeah, because it's the San Siro.
It's the
So
San Siro, yeah.
not it's it's not away from our ground, which is
Yeah, but
yeah.
it's just not necessary. It's just not good to see. I don't know why people have the need. Like I don't even know. I don't even need to say this, right? But I don't see the point in any like tomfoolery like this. It's just yeah, keep that nonsense out of the game, bro. Like let's be honest. You know, supporting your game, being an ultra is all well and good, but like there's things that you just don't do that. Especially he's a Scudetto winner, you know.
Yeah.
So like you're throwing it at someone that I don't even need to speak about it. But I also think we received a 50,000 euro fine for it, from what I read correctly.
Yes.
So that is
And this
also
is where I'll give, you know, a little bit of my opinion on the matter. I know people don't like collective punishment, but there's a little bit to self-governance, right? So I'm glad that the Curva Nord did something and helped the authorities with finding this guy, dealing with this guy, getting him out of the stadium basically immediately, because he did. I think he blew off 2 or 3 of his fingers with another firework that
yeah, he did.
failed. But good on them for doing that. Great. That's self-governance. That's what we need in the Curva Nord to stop this behavior. But Inter getting a fine as well. What did the club do? Right? We're talking about punishing the Curva Nord, who are the fans, and it was a fan in the section that did this. They had more responsibility than the club did. And the club's getting fined, right? We're one club and we should be taking care of ourselves. And yes, collective punishment is annoying and it sucks, but it's not like it was a full ban, matches played behind closed doors, because that's harming the club more than the individual. So I understand people's arguments when it comes to collective punishment, but just remember that Inter also gets punished for this. So getting the fans to help themselves and Inter is a good idea, and it's not a harsh punishment. So just wanted to say that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm 100% with you. Guys, like Sean mentioned already, this was the game that we literally just started recording. Started hopping in the call with Luca literally 5 minutes after full time. So we're locked in, guys. We're locked in. We're trying to get this out as soon as possible for you guys. So Inter 2, Torino 1 in the Coppa Italia. Into the Coppa Italia semi-finals, thanks to the goals from Andrea Boni and Andy Juve. A little bit shaky towards the end because of that goal back that they got in the 57th minute. But again, this was the C team, right? And with that being said, before we get into anything, guys, when I heard that Matteo Damian was ill, right? I see you already smiling right there, bro. This is my son. This is my son right here. Mon fils. C'est mon fils. Bro. Isiaka Kamate saw almost 90 minutes, right? 80 minutes, I think, before Luis Enrique came on. This guy is special, right? And I'm not just saying this because we're deprived of one-on-one dribblers, but wow, like that aside, he is just a great player in general. And mind you, he was played out of position. He is a mezzala slash trequartista. He is not meant to be playing right wing back. Maybe he used to play a winger a little bit with the Primavera, but you get the point, right? In the 4-3-3, he used to play right wing a little bit. But this guy proves his worth and said, I'm here to try and get into the first team, not just next season, but also play more this season, because he deserves it, let's be honest. And before we get into that, I literally just tweeted this whilst we were recording this. Congratulations on a solid performance on your first start for Inter, Matteo Cocchi. Many more to come. Again, didn't shine as much as Kamate. Also had a few crosses that could have led into like some goals and obviously he was on set pieces. But this was great to see.
Set
It was
pieces
great
were
to
good.
see. Yeah, set pieces were good as well. He has a solid left foot. Corner kicks, free kicks. Yeah, great performance from both of them. Obviously, Kamate was the one that I was specifically happy with just because I'm a big fan of him. I'm a big fan of him. And
what a great
yeah,
assist from him.
what a great assist. Let's talk about that first, Sean. Tell me.
Ooh, so silky. It really, I mean, we are so deprived of these kind of players that wouldn't happen. It's so good.
I
Weak
stood
foot.
up. I stood up. Matter of fact, I was standing for most of it. I was standing like with my hands behind my back, bro. I was standing like this, like an uncle watching TV. That's how I was standing, just observing. Wow. But yeah,
It was yeah, I mean, Kivu, you have changed our lives. It's just seeing these young players play and got rest for a lot of the first team players. Incredible. That midfield was something is all I'll say. But
it was definitely something. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, the kids like, and I'll say this is not a slight on Luis Enrique. Please do not think that this is a slight on him. But what Koki did today is what we've been seeing from Luis Enrique before January, right? He put in a 6 out of 10 performance. You know, these are the things that we praised Darmian for being Mr. 6.0. Like great there. I mean, it's his first start, and I think, and we saw it both from both of them in the first 30 minutes when Kamate got his assist. He really opened up. He felt a lot freed from getting that. But they, I think they were trying to figure out, can I play at this level? Like, am I supposed to be scared here? Like, I don't know what's supposed to happen. These guys are supposed to be better and more difficult. Am I ready for
Right.
it?
Right.
Then they grew
Like,
into it.
you know, we talk about this gap, right? And people, especially at Inter, like Kivu, Marotta, love talking about this gap between Serie C and Serie A. Of course there is, right? But you need to remember that these guys are prospects. These guys are youth players that with room to improve. And if you don't give them these opportunities, then they won't. Otherwise, they won't improve. We were talking about this literally like a month and a half ago when I gave the example of Zaire Emery being thrown into PSG team at 16. Okay, he's a lot more talented than Kamate and Koki, right? No doubt. But you get what I mean. You need to throw these young players into those, you know, into the fire basically, to test them in the fire, quite literally. And I feel like, right, Kivu did a great job by probably, I can imagine this is what he said, to tell them to not be scared, right? Because this is an opportunity to take, and this is an opportunity to show your worth. And I feel like they both did. You know, with Koki, right? It was a solid performance. It was nothing crazy. It was nothing like to scream about, but it was good. It was nothing wrong with it. And
Good passing, good interceptions, good
yeah,
positioning. Like, you know,
that as I mentioned, he needs to be a little bit more explosive still. I feel like, but that comes with playing at that level for like 6 months, 12 months, you know, and then maybe you're closer to the final product. But again, a Serie A loan would definitely not hurt. Same with Kamate. I definitely feel like he's ready for that. And it's good to see it. It's good to see it. I feel like this was a perfect opportunity, and I'm glad that Kibu gave them that opportunity. I'm very happy with that. I'm also happy that he subbed on Lautaro Martinez and Pio Esposito in like the 55th minute or something like that to give both of them like 20, 25 minutes to play with all four strikers. Because you need to remember, they were occupying both wings. So Inter, being a team that depends heavily on the fullbacks, on the wingbacks, was it was a brave move because you know you can't just lean on one side like, oh, let's say you have Di Marco instead of Koki, then you can kind of lean on that one side. No, this was a brave move because Inter relies heavily in terms of attacks, like 80-90% on the wings. So to put both of them on both wings and still win and still for it to work out, obviously Kamate got his assist. That was great to see. It was great to see that. So it worked out.
yeah,
Very,
and
very happy.
you could see their connection with Pio as well.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. So, no, that I think that's really the biggest highlight from this game was those kids coming in. And imagine if they actually played with, you know, the A team instead of the B team players, right? That midfield
Yeah.
did not help them. I mean, defensively it did, right? And energy
Yeah.
it did, but like you didn't. Yeah, those those midfielders aren't doing anything to draw players out away from them and get their focus off.
Fratesi being on Kamate's side is not necessarily the biggest help that you can get in terms of receiving the passes that you want as a right wing back. But with all due respect to Fratesi, but I feel like also Kamate, like I said, out of position. He's only played at right wing back like 2 or 3 times for the under 23 side because they play the same formation. The Primavera play a 4-3-3. So you need to remember that as well. He was basically playing out of position. Like you could say that. And if he has Barella next to him, then it's a different story, you know. And then there's Pio or Lautaro up front, then it's a different story. So yeah, but great win, great to go into the semi-final. And I don't know when the draw is actually. Maybe I should have probably looked that up before, but whenever the draw is, we'll obviously inform you.
I think we already know who our possible opponent is.
Yeah, let me check the bracket because I know Atalanta Juventus play tomorrow. I just want to check.
We play Napoli or Como.
Oh yeah, Napoli or Como. Okay, so but they play on the 10th of February, which is next week. So we'll figure that out next week, basically. So yeah, we'll see. That's next week, Tuesday, 9 p.m. So we'll find out our opponent then. So yeah, we will cover it next episode, basically, who will play in the semi-final. And then that will be a 2-legged tie again, I think, right?
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep, it's 2-legged tie, semi-final.
They haven't changed that yet. That is everything for games. Sean, do you want to just give us a rundown of what games are to come?
Oh yeah. I mean, until we record next week, every team has only 1 game. So, and I'll just breeze through them. The women play Fiorentina this Sunday. The Primavera plays Cagliari this Sunday. The U23 team plays Lumezzana, I believe, this Sunday, and then Inter plays Sassuolo. Again, I think
this Sunday.
Yeah, I think all 4 games are on Sunday. So, tune into all of those. No midweek matches next week, so that's good. I think we'll get some like the senior team gets some rest, and then all the other teams regular schedule for them. So
that's good. Good to know that I only have to worry about Inter on Sunday, no other day. Just no stress on any other days. But it's good to also for the players to get a week off between Sassuolo and then the Derby della Madonnina on the 14th. So on Valentine's Day.
Hell of a schedule.
Yes, with Bodo Glimt and then crazy schedule after that. So yeah, definitely the week off is going to be much needed with some good rest. So yeah, I appreciate the rundown. Guys, as I said at the start of the episode, make sure you go follow us on Twitter. We are literally like 100, 200 followers away from 70k. Please go drop us a follow if you don't already. If you don't follow us on Instagram as well, Thomas is trying to keep the page active. Again, we've been a little bit busy. We're trying our best, but give us a follow on there as well. And then YouTube, of course, subscribe, like, share the video, share the podcast if you're listening on the different platforms, and give us a good rating. And let us know your thoughts on anything. Rate the Mercato from 1 to 10. And yeah, we'll be back soon, hopefully with another win, or some more wins, I should say, over the weekend. And yeah, the Mercato was definitely a busy one in terms of the rumors that we had to cover. It'll be a bit slower in the next few weeks, and so the episodes will also be shorter because aside from the games, we won't have much to cover. So the longer episodes are only going to return in the summer, if that makes sense, because it's going to be just, not as transfer heavy. So anything longer than 30 minutes will probably be a rarity unless we have a guest on. But yeah, we appreciate the support over the transfer window. Again, this is what the podcast is about, bringing you the news, not just the games, bringing you the news specifically, kind of reciprocating what we tweet about and just summing it up for the week so that you don't have to doom scroll on Twitter every day kind of thing. So yeah, Sean, thank you once again. Luca, we appreciate you for joining. I know he's going to watch this back. So yeah, another great episode. We'll see you guys again next week. And yeah, Sean, do you want to say anything?
No, just reiterate. Thank you to Luca, and then thank you all for watching this long.
Make sure you follow Luca. Forza Inter.